You want to get a man obsessed with you, and I mean pursuing you, chasing you, deleting all the other women from his phone. Because if you've ever chased a man and you found yourself without the commitment and investment that you wanted, I'm going to show you exactly why that happened and how we can make a few changes, 3 to be specific, that will make all the difference. Now, I'm going to be drawing mostly, but I will try to speak auditorily so that you understand exactly what I'm going through. So let me clear my board real quick and let's get straight into the presentation. So the first thing we need to understand is the scarcity principle. Now, you might hear this and you say, oh, scarcity? No, we want to have an abundance mindset in dating. And I agree with this. We definitely want to have an abundance mindset, but we need to increase your perceived value so that he sees you as the prize. And now a very good marketing theory is to, when something is less available, it is higher value. So you can look at my value to quantity graph. So let's imagine this. There are 10,000 handbags produced and you can get them at every single Target around the world. Do you think that is going to be an expensive bag, or do you think the bag they only made 2 of is going to be very expensive? Now you, my love, are much the same way. When you are always available, oh, you can just come out on the drop of a hat. Oh, he doesn't need to make a reservation in advance for you. Does he see you as more or less value? Truthfully, he sees you as less valuable. So what we must do is we have to make you a bit scarcer. So if you aren't already living a full and abundant life, we need to make it so you are. And initially, if you have to, I know that sounds like a game, but hey, it's just strategy at the end of the day. The same product, it could be the same materials and the same bag in Target could be the same in a Louis Vuitton store. But the Louis Vuitton store bag will sell for a 10x multiple of what it does in Target, even if it's the same material, the same factory, right? So we need to make you appear less scarce. And at the end of the day, more scarce. At the end of the day, guys are hunters. They want to get the prize. They play video games in their free time. And what are video games? They're just like, oh, beep, bloop, bloop, bloop. I win game. And they're always trying to make things more scarce. They're going around made up worlds and collecting artifacts, right? So what we need to do is we need to make your world appear more scarce. So he has to make a reservation to get on your calendar. He can't just hit you with these last minute plans, because ladies, I hate to tell you, I know a lot of players, and when you get a last minute plan, what happens is there was another woman who we had something for, she canceled, and now you're slotted in. So it's not about playing games. It's just about making your time perceived as more scarce, which increases the perceived value. As an example, and sorry, you guys are getting a whole ass economics lesson here. Diamonds are not a scarce rock. But what happens is there's a company that has a pretty much a monopoly on the mining of that rock. And so they can slowly release the quantity. Just like our Hermes bag isn't fundamentally different. Oh, they could say, oh, the fabric, oh, blah, blah, blah. It isn't fundamentally different than most other bags, but they can charge a huge multiple because they get scarce and they have the branding around it. So we need to market yourself in the exact same way. Welcome to Marketing is Dating 101. All right, so let me clear my board and let's get into principle number 2 now that we understand scarcity. Let me clear my board. Clear my board. What the heck? My board's not getting cleared. What the heck? We hate that. Hopefully you guys enjoy my beautiful drawings because I enjoy doing them. So let's talk about gravity. And you're like, what the heck? We went from economics, now we're talking about science? Yes, we are. So let's talk a little bit about what happens when you meet someone you really like. You abandon the very scarcity that made you attractive. Oftentimes, like, especially when we really start liking someone, we're like, oh, it's been so long since I actually liked a guy. We start abandoning ourselves. So let's imagine this is you. Yeah, you're your own solar system. And you've got like, we got book club here, maybe we got yoga, we got all these cool things that make you you and really made him attracted to you. Now this guy comes in and let's just call him Jax, handsome guy. That's a very nice name, by the way. Let's imagine you start just getting pulled into his universe. So you essentially abandon your whole ass universe just to go live in his. Now, what does this say? Usually, if you come into his universe, you're going to be a little bit more needy, and you're actually going to be like a satellite. You're not going to be on the nucleus. So you got a bunch of other women here with their own lives that he has now pulled you into his. So you're going to be canceling girls' nights. You're going to be responding to last minute texts. You're going to drop your gym routine. You're going to stop pursuing your goals just to focus on him. And ladies, I know that this happens. I know it can happen so quickly, but you have to remember is you need to build your own world, because this ties into scarcity. When you have Pilates class, when you have yoga, when you have your friends' book clubs, when you have your mom's birthday party that you have to get to, you cannot just drop your world in favor of his, because ultimately you'll become less fit, you'll become less wealthy, you'll become less of everything. And then he'll look and be like, this girl is one, so obsessed with me that she's always responding to my text immediately. So she's not scarce, which means she's not valuable. And now all those things that I liked about her, that she had hobbies, that she had her own world, they just disappeared the second I stepped into the picture. It's showing It's giving low value, as the kids would say. All right, so we talked about kind of your gravitational pull and not to completely abandon your own world just to join his, right? Because guys don't like that. They want, yeah, here's what a guy is, right? A guy wants to step into a nice apartment and be like, oh, it's pretty good here. He wants to be like a sprinkling on top of your life. He doesn't want to just absorb your entire life. That is a very peculiar guy. So let's talk about energy traps. Energy traps. Energy traps. All right. So this is a very tricky topic. So we talked about maintaining your gravitational pull. You guys are getting a whole ass science lesson today. Welcome to Science Corner is Dating. We talked about economics. So you got to mirror his energy. So let's imagine a guy in the early stages, he's making dates. I'm going to call this guy. I don't have the best spelling. He's giving you 50% energy. And what you're going to do is you're going to act as a mirror. So he's sending 50% energy your way. You're going to be sending 50% energy back his way. Now, what happens at times is guys will kind of test you. And, it's kind of classic that this happens, is they will start, instead of reflecting, 50% energy, they'll start reflecting 30% energy. And if you do not make the conscious adjustment to send back 30% energy, you're going to start over investing. So what happened is the paradigm completely flipped. Now you're chasing him. Now you're setting dates. Now you have to act like freaking TripAdvisor just to get this guy out. And that is absolutely not what you want to do. You need to be conscious, not in an anxiously attached way, being like, oh, you text me back in 2 hours. I need to now do 2 hours. Just keep an eye on this, because a lot of guys, what they'll do is they'll pull back their attention and try to flip the framing. So if he plans an elaborate date, appreciate it, but don't immediately plan the next one. Don't immediately be like, oh, you picked up this drink, let me go pay for the other one. No. If you want the relationship where he is pursuing you, where he's obsessed with you, you must mirror his energy and oftentimes give slightly less back than you're receiving, because that essentially keeps the framing of you being chased. Guys, again, want to be hunters. They want to continue to beat the video game. You have to keep yourself scared. And if you notice that he is starting to become lazy, or he's now offering, Netflix and chill dates, again, we cannot blame guys for wanting to become intimate, but we can kind of shut it down and be like, showing him that we want better dates than that. That's not the type of lady you are. So let's talk about commitment foundation. So we talked about the scarcity principle. We talked about energy, talked about a few other topics, really a science lesson today. Let's talk about commitment foundations. Commitment foundations. And these all tie into one another, right? So essentially the entire premise is that when you focus on yourself, focus on you, because ultimately, not all relationships are going to last. Heck, even marriages, and I know I don't want to sound pessimistic, have about a 50% success rate. So if you are to completely give your life and give everything to this guy, a good phrase is, if the person that depletes you will end up leaving you because you are not the person they fell in love with, and they will often take all your energy. This is usually an energy vampire. I'm not going to assume a toxic relationship here, but just know you must continue to build your own life. This is why I don't like the people online and be like, oh yeah, just be a living girlfriend, like just completely give up your career to let this guy. Okay, so what happens if that guy leaves you, right? You need to have your own things. You need to have your own career ambitions. You need to have your own social circle. You need to have your own personal interests, health and fitness, personal growth, because those things make you attractive. Let's imagine this. Okay, so we're going to have value on this axis. Guys, you're getting a serious, and then time. So what happens? Let's just start 2 points in the middle here. Boop, boop, boop. Boop, boop, boop. All right, so one person is constantly focused on themselves, constantly focused on improving. The other person's like, yeah, he's taking care of all this for me. Yeah, he's playing dates. And you just continue to decrease in value. Now, which person on a long enough timeline is going to be more attractive? Obviously this person, because look at the giant delta here. This is a very mathematical exercise, is you have to see like, hey, over time, if you stop going to the gym, if you stop focusing on your career, if you stop really supporting your community, guys will look at that and they'll be like, she's not as attractive as she once was. So think of this like a table or like a bridge of sorts. Let's say, actually a house probably is better. So let's imagine we have a house here, right? And we've got a house, it's a nice house. And it's built underneath on a few different pillars. It's like one of those beach houses that like the tide comes in, so it has to sit above the beach. These things like your social life, your friends, your career, all these things support your fitness or support your life. And when you start knocking out these pillars, you start giving up these pillars for him, you start to have a much less stable foundation, and then you're just purely relying on him. So remember, a weak foundation is not going to serve you well. And when your foundation is solid, your scarcity is actually real. Again, we're not trying to artificially create this scarcity, although in the beginning, if you do not have a fully built out life, that can work. We need to have a solid foundation so that he's actually continuously attracted to you. Guys do not commit to you when they're like, yeah, guys do not commit to you when they think you're easy to get. They don't really commit to even girls they like. They commit to women that they are afraid to lose. They're like, holy hell, I need to lock this girl down because she could walk away at any given moment. And this like strong foundation of a house of your friends, your family, your personal interests, your health, your hobbies, your mindset. Your mindset is so big, your energy. That is the thing that gives you that FU confidence that you can walk away from these guys that if they start treating you right, if they start disrespecting your boundaries, because you have this FU confidence of this amazing life that you built up. If we look at the graph again, this is you now. Here you are, instead of being like the clown down here. That's a person that can't walk away. The person at the top of the graph, they can walk away at any given time because they have the confidence. So this is how you go from chasing to being chased. You become the prize in this scenario, and I need you